Beverly Hills. You found for Love and Chocolate with Mr. and Mrs. Truffles.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome back. Oh my gosh, Mrs. Truffles.
What's going on in here
What in the world is
today?
happening? We got balloons.
There's a duck cake.
We've got a magician.
Well, it just happens that our 9th episode today
Yes.
falls on our dog Phineas's 4th birthday.
Yes. I didn't expect a snow cone machine, but there it is.
Yeah, we're going to be having a dog party here in the studio later.
I'm so happy for him. He deserves it.
Yeah.
He's a good boy, isn't he?
He's the best.
Yeah, well.
He's very special to us. He was the only attendee at our wedding when we got married during the craziness of 2020.
That's right. And he played all the parts, didn't he?
Yeah, he was ring bearer.
Yep, he was our witness.
He signed the ketubah.
He signed the ketubah.
Yeah.
Flower girl. He was
my bouquet. I tied flowers to him. He was a little baby puppy still.
God, his pictures, his wedding photos are gorgeous.
Yeah, we should have a painting made.
Maybe we will.
But I think you're on a little bit of a high from something else that happened recently.
I'd like to talk about it.
You haven't stopped talking about it since you did it. It's a major accomplishment, Mr. Truffles.
Well,
tell everybody what you did.
I feel like I'm the first one in maybe 3 or 4 generations of my family, of the
Gallup men?
The Gallup men to have done this. But
yeah?
And so I don't expect a parade or a certificate or anything.
It would be nice.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I screwed in a light bulb.
You did. You changed the light bulb in the hall that we talked about last week.
I did. And you know what? I do. I want a parade. I want a freaking parade. It's a big deal. Because you know what? Some people just... Everyone knows how. Not everyone wants to. But you know what? It got me thinking, right? Because we have a contractor / handyman, our buddy Paul. He is the best of the best.
Yeah, but
right?
He's not going to drive all the way up from Orange County to change a light bulb.
No, I'm making a point. Okay? There's no better, right? As far as contractors.
Paul's the best.
He's the best, right? I don't have that tool in my tool bag, so to speak. We've talked about...
You know that you don't really use a tool to change light bulbs, right?
I just figured that out. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't change the light bulb. I don't have the right tool.
I don't have the light bulb tool, the light bulb changing tool. Where can I get that? Anyway, the point I'm making is that, everyone has their talents. And everyone is void. And everyone is void of certain talents, right? To be able to put all of those talents together in one person, wouldn't that be something? But that's why we...
Isn't that the $6 Million Man is about?
I don't know if you can sing a love song, though.
Oh.
That's where you're missing out,
Wow,
Mrs.
they should have spent that extra $1 million.
See, the $7 Million Man now, that's something.
He can sing the love songs.
And he plays the ukulele. But... we all have that thing. We all have that thing that we do, that we excel in. And then we all have that thing that we wish we excelled in. For me, I'm not saying that I wish I was more handy around the house. I'm sure you wish that a little bit here and there. But the point is that we can all work on those things that we're not great at. I can go to a light bulb screwing seminar and figure out exactly how it's done.
No, you can't.
Even without
they
a
don't
tool.
have those.
Are you sure?
Very sure. There's nothing like that anywhere.
Really? University of Phoenix doesn't have the light bulb screwing course? Okay, so maybe not light bulb screwing, but other things.
All you need is the right tool, though.
Painting a house. Installing a toilet.
Okay, see, now these are much more major operations here. Operation install a toilet.
Yeah.
And changing a light bulb.
Yeah, they're both pretty hard. You're shaking your head at me.
No.
They're not very difficult?
One of these things is very difficult. And one of these things is easy peasy.
Even our dog, who doesn't have opposable thumbs.
Who doesn't have a thumb, might be able to do it.
Oh, that sweet guy. Yeah, I'm going to do my best, because now he can sit and he can go potty on command. I'm going to see if I can't train him to change a light bulb.
Well, good luck with that, darling.
Thanks, sweetheart. Anyway, I think this is a perfect time to get into our mailbag.
All right, Mr. Truffles, so what have we in the mailbag today?
Well, we've got something, Mrs. Truffles. We've got something from Amy's sister.
Okay.
And it reads, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Truffles, after taking a year off from dating, my sister, who was jilted on her wedding day, is finally ready to try her luck at love again. I've suggested she start out casually by meeting people online for coffee dates, but she wants to get back on the marriage track right away by seeking love through a professional matchmaker. It's very expensive, and I think it's too soon. What are your thoughts?
It's a very good question.
Okay, Amy's sister. Well, first of all, it's sweet of you to write in. You obviously care so much about your sister.
Yeah, and, but I think your sister knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She probably thought the dating merry-go-round part of her life was behind her, and she's ready to be married and build a life with somebody.
She wants to make a commitment, and she's okay if it's a monetary one, too, because these matchmakers, they're professionals. They know what they're doing, and they're at the top of their game.
Yeah, I think it's money well spent, honestly, and good luck to your sister. And if I were you, I'd start thinking about what the bridesmaids' dresses should look like.
Well, good luck, Amy's sister, and Amy. Well,
yeah.
Mrs. Truffles, what else do we have in the mailbag today?
Okay, Mr. Truffles, well, we have a message here from someone calling herself Buttercup.
Buttercup.
Buttercup. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Truffles, I love your show and appreciate your oft-wise advice and thoughts. My question is a simple one. After a night of beautiful romance and intimacy under the moon has passed, how can I believe it's real? That's from Buttercup. Well, that's a very interesting question,
Yes,
Mr. Truffles.
Thank you, Buttercup. Well, I feel like...
I feel like this might need a musical answer.
I think so. So I'm going to throw it over to the For Love and Chocolate Singers. Take it away, guys.
Do you believe in love and chocolate? You know I do. Well, I believe in love and chocolate when I'm loving you. Do you believe in love and chocolate? You bet I do. Well, I believe in love and chocolate when the moon is new. So we hugged and we kissed in the moonlight, and the moon shone bright as day, bright as day. And we hugged and we kissed in the June night, till the moon glow passed away.
Well, that was perfect.
That was so perfect.
Oh, my gosh, the For Love and Chocolate Singers. We're going to have to bring them back.
Our guests today are so talented.
So talented. Today, we have I love these two so much. Dear friends, Margaret Welsh, a.k.a. Maggie, and John Michael Higgins, veterans of stage and screen. Now, John Michael Higgins, certainly you will recognize his voice. This guy has been working nonstop for the last 30 years. And Maggie, in addition to being an incredible actress, is also a yoga therapist.
Yeah, helping people to heal. It's so beautiful.
It really is. So, when we come back, guys, we're going to bring you Maggie Welsh and John Michael Higgins.
And we'll be right back.
For over 40 years, Toysher has been a staple in the Beverly Hills community. Like so many other families in the community, our family has had a long-standing love affair with Toysher chocolates. Over the years, we've formed traditions and memories around these extraordinary Swiss chocolates and the enchanting wonderland of fantasy truffle boxes inside our store. Today, our family is proud to be carrying on the Toysher tradition in Beverly Hills. Oh, Mrs. Truffles, I cannot contain my glee. And it's not just because I was in the glee club, and I was.
Well, nor should you.
No, the glee club,
No.
we were tough. We were a tough group.
That's what everyone says.
That's what they all
that's
say.
Word on the street.
But, I mean, come on. I've got Michael and Maggie here, John Michael Higgins and Maggie Welsh, who, I'm going to say it, and I've said it before, 30 years. I've known them for 30 years, and I've liked them for 14 of them. Anyway, so guys, thank you for taking the boat, the train, the bus, the hovercraft. You got here.
All three.
You're here.
Thank you.
And we couldn't be happier. You guys are it's like you're a bit, I just want to hug you both. You're just.
It's okay,
too far
you
away.
can do it,
Okay.
Mr. Truffle.
Anyway, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's such a treat having you.
It is such a treat.
And
This
if we
is
don't
so
get
lovely.
if we don't get to the good stuff, we never will. And so don't let me stand in your way because I just want to hug them.
I told you could.
Okay, well maybe later.
Okay. Well, it is such a pleasure to have you guys here, and we are so excited to hear about your romantic story. So maybe we could take a little trip down memory lane now, and you could tell us about the very first time the two of you met.
I remember it, and I don't think Michael does.
Oh.
Really?
I do. I know it's a controversial.
Okay.
So I went down to the McCarter Theater in New Jersey to see The Double Inconstancy, a play which was the precursor to a play that I had just done in New York, and I wanted to see this production. I had a couple friends in this production. Michael played this Harlequin character, and he was amazing, blew my socks off. Went backstage to meet my friends and tell them what an amazing production this. Everyone was amazing, the whole thing. I stepped up to compliment Michael, and what a cold mother. Ice, baby.
Ooh.
I was like, oh my God, like, this is so amazing. And he was like, oh, thanks. That was the first time we met. Kind of hot, right?
Wow.
And then I got on the New Jersey Transit train home, folding my arms, like, oh, their
So
production
can
was
I ask
better.
you
Why
what
was
I-
he so rude?
Can I ask you what I ask a lot of people?
Sure.
Is there something that you knew in that moment that he was the one?
No.
He was the one she
There's
would
a-
not marry.
Do you remember the first meeting differently, Michael?
I don't remember the meeting well, but I think whatever happened there, I've never been cold to anyone in my life on a first meeting. I think it was whatever I did or said was probably the result of something that was going on in the room at the same time, is my guess. I take pride in not treating people badly.
Right.
I can't imagine
Yeah.
talking to someone that way. And yet he did, and there it is. So she remembers it that
But to
way.
be fair, you just finished your play. You were probably exhausted.
Doesn't
Right?
matter. You know what? It's not an excuse. If someone comes up and you compliment it's not. I'm
He
not.
was just a little cool.
I'm not
I wasn't
capable of it. I'm
expecting
not
the
capable
cold,
of it.
the
I
cold
understand.
formality
It's
of it
true.
all.
Okay.
I may
Again.
have been formal. That's possible. Maybe
Right.
we should work this out on this very couch here. It's possible that I was trying to be contained and calm or something like that.
Is it possible that you were just so overwhelmed by her beauty
Didn't
and
notice.
her loveliness
Did
that
not
you
notice.
tried to play it cool?
Just say yes.
It's possible.
It's
Just say
possible, yeah.
possible.
It's
Because I
possible.
could see that.
That
you
It's
was
know?
possible.
Stockholm
You may
syndrome
be
right
right there. She was a really pretty girl coming up to me. It's possible that I was dealing with a pretty girl. Yes.
You had your pretty girl armor on.
It's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty girl armor can mean so many different things. Anyway, so when was the first actual meet? Who made the move? How did you actually connect?
Yeah, how did it all come back together?
Table read. We were cast in the same
read.
play.
And did you think, oh, that's that sumbitch that wouldn't talk
Yeah,
to me?
and I was with Belina, my friend Belina,
Yes.
who she and I had met. We become fast friends. We're sitting at the table reading. We're like love festing with the other actors, and here's this guy over here, inward and shy, and not hanging out with other people. And we're like, what's wrong with him? Why is he no fun? That was the second time we met.
For our listeners, by the way, that's Belina from Slopes and Slurpees.
Slopes and
with
Slurpees,
Ben
exactly.
Baudet and
Yep.
Palm Royale,
Maybe.
Belina,
I think
exactly.
that's right,
Yeah,
that one.
correct.
Mark.
Yeah.
I met Belina when I met him on this play.
Okay.
We all met at the same time.
And what was the name of the play?
Arms in the Man.
Arms in the
Shaw.
Man.
I was Blunchley.
You
So
were?
was
I did.
He was Blunchley. I was
Chocolate cream
Raina.
soldier.
Chocolate
Come full
cream.
circle.
The
Hello.
chocolate cream soldier.
What in the world?
Now
That's
it's
it,
chocolate
look.
cream pusher.
You have this table read. He's still
Michael's
a
very
little...
remote. Cast is bonding. He's holding back.
I'll concede to that because I was the most miserable I've ever been in my life in that moment.
What was going on?
Dark place. Didn't feel like fraternizing with anyone.
And it was the first day of work, and I wasn't quite sure what the director was up to. I had a conversation with him right before the table read, and I was like, not sure I can do that.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you've been there.
Sure.
My mind's going. It's like, how do I do that? So I probably wasn't paying much attention to anything else. I think I'm better at that now.
But somehow a week passed, and I don't remember the exact moment, but like a little chick coming out of an egg, Michael appeared. And he just perked up and became the funnest person ever. We just had fun. We started working together. That's what it was. We started rehearsing and getting
Yeah.
to know each other.
Right.
And in that play, it's those two characters, Raina and Blunchley, on
Yeah.
stage for the entire first act,
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
So we were just working together.
I'm going going to take a leap, and I'm going to say, clearly, you're maybe, if you don't even recognize it, you're starting to maybe fall in love a little bit. There's a chemistry, there's a connection, and I'm guessing, because you had seen him work.
Yes.
You thought he was incredible.
Yes.
He had never worked with you.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, he sees you, not only for the woman you are, but for the actress. And the talent is a very attractive thing. And,
We were
and
definitely...
now, all of a sudden, he's drawn in, and it's game on.
Yeah.
Right?
We just clicked. In the exploration of it, I think we worked a little differently, but it just worked. I think that's really where it began. And then all of a sudden, we were just having fun. And we're having fun as a cast. And we were stuck together in Hartford, Connecticut, nothing to do. And we started going to this coffee shop together. There was only one coffee shop that turned into the one bar at night. So it was this one place called Zuzu's Coffee, run by these young guys who were in their first business venture. So here we were, actors together, these business guys together, all of us bonded. And we just sort of had this synergistic kind of relationship where we saw them in the morning, we had coffee together, we would go rehearse, we would go do something fun after rehearsal, then we would go to their bar at night and see how they were doing, and then we would go home and do stuff after that.
What kind of fun things would you do after rehearsal?
Michael had a car and he was like, let's go exploring.
We went everywhere.
Just
It's like people
Mark
dressed
Twain's
in colonial
house.
thing. Mark Twain's house was there nearby.
Donuts, we'd go find donuts.
Donuts, cider donuts. I have to say, I'm going to backtrack on her story a little bit. I think that is all accurate. That's the way I remember it. But I think part of me coming out of my shell, it was definitely that Mags and I were working together. Before that, though, I would say, even at the table read, let's say it was the second day, she was reading the New York Review of Books at the table. I'd never seen an actress do that. And I'm a subscriber. I was like, okay, my eyebrows going up. Interesting conversation about something else, something outside of us, something outside in the world. It's unusual. It was for me, at least, to meet
So what you're
a
saying
young
is
actor.
that most of the really attractive young actresses you met were kind of daft?
I wouldn't say they're daft. I would say that they weren't much interested in what was going on
Yeah.
elsewhere,
Worldly, maybe.
outside their own careers. And this is the age we were, too, partly.
Yeah.
To this day, Margaret Welsh is by far the most interesting person I know in any conversation. It's an incredible aphrodisiac.
Wow, I bet.
for me.
I kind of want to be your best friend after hearing
Can I?
that.
Yes.
Okay. Let's
But
break it up, you two.
You're pretty.
But I would say also, and this is something just as an artist, which we both are. And you were talking about this, Tommy. It was once we're rehearsing.
Yeah.
When you're doing Shaw or Shakespeare, everything you say is fantastic.
Yeah, that's
you're
true.
like the most interesting people on earth. Every time you open your mouth, a garland of flowers comes out, and that's enough to fall in love anyway, even if you know it's fake. Which is like, this person didn't say it. Shaw said that. But it doesn't feel that way when you're in the room.
Yeah.
And you're looking at each other's eyes and you're saying the most incredible things people have ever said. Literally. It's magic. If you get it going, if you get the engine running, it's magic. It doesn't mean everybody falls in love with their co-star all the time.
It was a very Kismet-y production because Belina and I met and we became best friends, you know?
Still are to this day.
To this day. It was one of those moments cosmically where everything was open. And so she and I were together. We met and we bonded. And our whole cast got along. There was no discord, nothing. It was just beautiful. It was
Very unusual.
And spring had come in Hartford and we met these young business owners. And it was just one of those moments. I look at that as the beginning of, I did, an undergraduate degree at NYU, but I began what I consider my master's degree when I worked with Mark Lamos for the first time in that production. And then we worked subsequently many times. And with
Mark
another
Lamos,
director.
Hartford.
Yeah.
Stage, right? Artistic director.
And so it was just like this incredibly enlivening with this brilliant actor, all these, Berlina, and I could go on and on about the entire cast. Just hugely talented, open-hearted, wonderful, creative actors.
So the stage is quite literally set, right?
That's right.
And everything you've done now has been kind of as a company. You're rehearsing together, but it's a company. And
We have the whole first act together.
I'm wondering when you had your first moment or date outside of rehearsal and the play that felt like, okay, well, I guess this is a date. This feels like a date.
I don't ever remember having a date to be. I remember becoming more interested in him. I had a boyfriend in Greece at the time.
Ooh.
Oh. Opa!
It was Steve.
Steve the Greek.
Steve the Greek.
All right.
Stefanos.
So I had my mind in this other place in terms of boyfriends.
Yeah.
And Michael was completely outside of any experience I had had in that way. And he was much more cerebral, much more interesting. He was an artist. He was much more fascinating.
To be fair, it sounds like, but the difference between, what was his name, Steve?
Well, his name was Efstratios.
Really?
Yeah.
So the difference between Estratios and Michael was Bach and baklava.
Hello. Well said.
Is that fair?
Thank you.
Okay.
You're a poet.
I tried.
Yes.
Thomas.
So we were kind of in this sort of like creative orbit, and then he touched me in a way that made me feel pretty comfortable.
He'd like put his hand on the small of your back. What was the moment? Like,
Sure.
what was that
Let's
moment?
go with that,
Let's go with
sweetheart.
that. It was an unsolicited massage and yet welcomed.
Mikey's got his hand on the small of your back. Had you kissed yet?
There's basically an old shibboleth about the theater.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't screw with people that you're working with because you bring it on stage with you and it screws the world up.
Right.
So you don't do it. I really believed in that. I know many people meet working actors. What's weird about the situation, this type of situation, is that, of course, we had kissed because Blunchley and Raina kiss.
Right.
So you kissed in your roles
Yes.
before
Yeah.
you kissed as...
Right.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
Love
we're
interest.
familiar.
Yeah.
Actors do this. They touch each other. You can smell each other. You
literally spit on each other on stage.
while you're on
so
stage.
intimate.
Otherwise,
It
the
really
audience
is.
can't hear the words if you don't start
Right.
spitting.
You make
You know,
mistakes and
Right.
cover for each other. You know, there's all that.
you're
You've already
all
got
in
these,
each other's-
all the dynamics of a relationship before you even...
it's all in play.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have an emotional component in the same way, but the characters are having an emotional component. And you know what? If your character's having an emotional component, it's a good chance you're having one too.
Interesting.
And that's just the gig. That's the way it is.
On that thread, was there a time that you remember thinking, oh, I've kind of gone away from Blunchley, my character, for a minute. I'm feeling something other than what my character was feeling. This could be something. Did that happen?
A tiny story, it takes 2 sentences. The director, Mark, those 2 characters actually don't kiss. Shaw does not have them kissing. At the very end of the play, one of them says something slightly personal to the other one, and that's it. It's the sexual tension and control that Shaw has written in is what he wants. He wants the lights to go out with something bubbling.
Yeah.
And Mark knows his modern audience, and you're dying to have the 2 of them kiss in some way or somehow.
And he wasn't wrong, was he?
He was not wrong. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
He had a very chaste kiss.
After she says, my chocolate cream soldier.
My chocolate cream soldier.
Yeah.
I think I have my arm around your waist, and then we do a brief kiss because it's 3 acts of this tease. The audience is almost apoplectic.
You get paid off.
Yeah, I would love to have done it without the kiss because I think that's kind of, there's something about that that's outrageous, you know. And frankly, I think our relationship kind of mirrored what it was like on stage, I think.
I feel frankly for myself that I met Michael and I was doing this play, and it's a classical play. It's wigs and corsets, so it's very different than modern life. And then we were having this other experience, which was very just us in jeans, you know, that it was like a real growth spurt for me. Like I had been kind of biding my time in my love life, not being serious. And then I met Michael. He was too big a thing for me to not take seriously. Intellectually, creatively, you know, all of that was just, I'd never had that kind of partner. It wasn't really what I was chasing when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, I was being very rebellious. I made sure that to piss my father off, that no one I dated went to college. I made sure of it. I dated one boyfriend who went to an Ivy League school and I lied about it. You know, very rebellious. And then I met Michael and it really coincided with like brain growth. Honestly, it's late 20s, right? You just start getting grown up a little bit.
Right.
And
yeah.
he was like this very complete, intellectual, creative artist that was like put in front of me.
So how did your dad like?
Oh, he loved Michael. Except, you know, Michael was raised as a Catholic and went to a private college. So my father's a Protestant who taught at a public university. So he loved Michael. He was so relieved. It was like a cliche. Like the darker the hair, the crazier the boy, the more interesting to me.
Yeah, you know what? When you're a little bit mad at your parents, that seems to happen.
I just was ridiculous. And then he was so funny. Just funny. Up one side, down the other. All we did was laugh.
Listen, I was having a bad time at the beginning. It was a rough time in my life, and I certainly was not looking for Margaret Welsh. I remember the first time we were on our feet, you know, you'll understand this, Tommy, it's like your script's still in your hand, you're fumbling around, you're running into the poof, and you're knocking chairs over, whatever. But but I just remember like me saying something, my character saying something to her, and she just whipped her head around, looked me dead in the eye, and did like the most perfect line reading I'd ever heard in my life. And I was like, that's a little moment in time that I'll never forget.
Smitten.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. Is the best actress I've worked with, you know, and just couldn't believe her it's all concentrated and really well executed, but it really comes in from the side door, and I was so excited by it. It's not
sexy.
So sexy. Everything she says is just slightly, it's not the normal way, it's just a little bit to the left.
Skew, yeah.
And I couldn't believe she could do it time after time, every single line. I was like, just throwing these curves and sliders on, and I just like, man, this is so exciting. And then we would break for rehearsal, and she's the most fascinating woman I've ever met in my life. Honestly, we can talk about anything.
I remember him sitting on the couch in my actor housing, kind of brooding. You know, he would get into these broody states. It's so funny because Belina and I were like in such a playful mood at that time. And I had these crazy boyfriends. And so Michael was taking himself like so seriously as like a problem somehow in his own head. And I laughed it off. I don't know if you remember, like he was on the couch and he's like, well, you know, I'm a lot. And I was like, that's hilarious. You have no idea who my boyfriends have been. Like, I just was like, look at you. You're a brilliant, lovely person on the couch.
You were saying I'm a lot to her to kind of just set her back?
I think probably the conversation between me and Belina and Maggie, we were driving all over the Eastern Seaboard. You know,
we were in the car together. We were in this bar together all the time.
We were 24 hours a day together. You know, all of us. And
Sebastian, the other guy.
It probably turned to like, what are your relationship? Because everybody, you know, when you're doing regional theater, it's a pause in your life. You leave your apartment, you go off to St. Louis or Milwaukee or Minneapolis, whatever, and you're there for 2 months.
You fall into this foxhole situation with other people.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's all artificial. It's not part of your life. It's not real. You're playing characters.
You come back to
and
that.
No one cares when you come back. No one saw it. The only people who saw it were some people from Minneapolis. The whole thing is like, it's like growing orchids on Mars or something. It's like pointless and beautiful. Yeah. You know, that's what a regional actor's life is. I met Margaret and it changed my life. It was like, and I brought it back in.
We kind of fooled around when we were there. You know, we didn't have sex or anything like that. We kind of fooled around. We were definitely clinging to each other in some way, but I was like, I have a boyfriend in Greece. And then summer came, and Belina and Michael and I all lived in my studio apartment together because he had no apartment and she couldn't pay her rent and I couldn't pay mine. So the three of us lived together in one room. This was just the beginning of the three. Yes. And we lived together all summer.
Take a knock at my door.
And then Michael went off and did played David Letterman in the middle of the summer.
Yes.
But I remember he was choosing between that and a regional theater gig in Ohio. In that apartment. We were like, you should do the TV thing.
Jay Leno.
It was a weird decision because it was going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
And the gig
The
in
Letterman
Ohio,
job was, and it was going to change my life,
If
and
it
it
may,
did.
yeah.
What was
but-
the Letterman
Yeah,
job?
he
he had to play David Letterman.
What was it called?
Late Shift.
Late Shift.
You really wanted
I've
that
heard of
play gig in Ohio.
I did.
It was like a real Sophie's
It was
Choice
like
moment.
I know. It was like it was so crazy. Life, you know, actor, high diddly dee. It's ridiculous. You know, I was dying to play this thing in Ohio because it was a big.
Yeah,
You know,
it was Tony
Randall.
Tony Randall's thing. So he goes off to his Letterman. I go to do a play in Princeton. Belina goes off into something else. And we all come back to Hartford, same theater. We're asked, all of us, to come back in the winter to do another play together, another classical comedy. And that's really when it began. Michael decides that he really wants to be together, but I'm not ready yet. He confides it in Belina. Belina says she doesn't want you as her
You're still with
boyfriend.
Mykonos.
I was in New York. We were between those two shows, right? We finished Arms of the Man. We all had this big experience. We all went back to New York, back to our real lives. I called up Belina. Maggie might have been in Greece, I think.
No, I went to Greece in the fall.
Okay, right. So I saw a picture of him.
Mykonos.
Yeah, shirtless. He's extraordinary. He's like the most beautiful man who ever lived.
Like an Adonis. Right?
So my head is like out. I'm like, well, she's got this literally a Greek god of some sort that she's with. None of this can ever happen. It's not real. I call Belina in New York. I just said, can we meet at the Starbucks down in Springs Peak? So we meet down there. And I say to Belina, I don't know what to do. I cannot stop thinking about Margaret Welsh. I can't. It's like 24 hours a day. Wow. I can't sleep. It's her. I know it's her. Belina says, not happening now.
Wow.
She says, I think it'll happen later.
Oh.
Well, you should get Belina in on this, too. She knew something from something Margaret had said, or the way Margaret said something about me or something. I'm not sure what it may have been. It's what a best girlfriend would know. And when I walked away from that Starbucks thing, I was like, okay, fine.
I'm still with Mykonos.
Okay.
Break up with Mykonos. We all go up to Hartford together. My aunt has died, and I'm in my apartment cooking grim food in honor of my Scottish aunt. Potatoes and
haggis.
like bland meat or whatever. And Michael's been out running in shorts. He's got really nice legs. And he comes knocking on the door. He comes in, as we did, right? It was so intimate. It was like a family. He just comes in and he lies down on the couch. And all of us are going to get together and party later upstairs at our friend Rob's apartment. And I'm looking at him. I broke up with Mykonos, and it's like winter, and he's lying there, and I see his legs looking so good. And I think to myself, and I'll never forget it, I'll go, why not?
Oh!
Why not, indeed?
That was the moment.
God.
That was the moment. That was it. There was no turning back, no moment that we weren't together from that moment.
He comes in with dolphin shorts, and you're like, that's the one?
After running, and I think literally, why not? It's so unromantic.
Oh, no, it's fat.
Because it was such a departure from the time that I had been wasting with all these other people who were wonderful people, but just in terms of any kind of viable relationship. And then we just were kind of fooling around. We had to be at this party upstairs. We went upstairs, but literally that was the moment that we got together, and we have been together ever since. Inseparable.
Just inseparable.
And we're also, by the way, having yet another blast with this cast.
Great
We're just having
show.
such good juju up there. Great production, great cast, epic snowstorms. So it's like super romantic, and we're all playing in the snow together, and we get on the train from Hartford to New York, and it's like a scene from Dr. Zhivago, and we are just glued to each other, Michael and I. Glued to each other. That was really the beginning of all of it.
Yeah, by the second show, it was like game on, game over. You know,
Yeah.
There was no turning back. And I think all of that magic part ended, you know, because we went back to a
Life.
different type of life, you know, and we ended up being both in L.A., living together in some cheap apartment, some stucco apartment. Just flash forward a couple of years, sitting on this deck of the stucco apartment, and it was like a Tuesday.
In Los Feliz.
Tuesday was about 7. The sun was kind of setting, and we were just sitting there, and I turned to her, and I just thought, I don't know how this gets better. I wasn't thinking yacht. I wasn't thinking ski trip. I was just thinking, how does it get better that I'm sitting here with this perfect person? I had this lovely day where everything was pleasant, and I produced some sort of odd half paragraph of a long sentence with a lot of subordinate clauses and a couple of semicolons. And she said, "Did you just ask me to marry you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think that's what I meant."
And so you hadn't planned that. It just
Nope.
came out.
No.
Wow.
Didn't have a ring. I didn't have anything. Is that what you're supposed to do? Get on the knee? Did you produce a ring?
Everyone does it differently.
All right, but
Yeah,
I think that's the
what we're
tradition,
learning.
is right?
Yeah. Yeah, you ask the dad, you buy the ring,
Exactly.
you do the whole thing. Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a bit. There's a
None of that
routine.
happened.
There is.
None of that happened, and it was mostly because I couldn't remember being happier in that moment, and I just turned to her and I had nothing. I literally didn't know when I started the sentence that it was going to be a marriage proposal. Turned out the sentence kept
going.
It kept going, and she said, "Did you just say? Did you want me to marry you?" And I said,
I laughed,
and I
too.
said, she laughed. That was her first response.
But when did you say yes? How did that happen?
I mean,
She said it-
after I laughed nervously, I was like, we were out on the balcony, and I kind of couldn't believe he was proposing.
right.
I actually thought I would propose to him.
So
Oh,
Yes,
interesting.
because I told my sister-in-law Suzanne in the summer I was up in Maine with my family, and we were digging in the garden, me and Suzanne, and I was like, I think I'm going to ask Michael to marry me. And she was like, you should. We
had
had
you
this, like,
discussed marriage together?
No.
No.
It had never been discussed.
Never.
And you've been together how long at this point?
We met in 95, and then we got married in 99.
Wow. So you said yes.
Yeah. I laughed, and then I said yes.
No, she
laughed,
didn't.
and then
no,
you said
there,
yes.
she did not say it without laughing. She said it while laughing.
While laughing.
It
Oh,
was nervous laughter.
Nervous laughter.
Nervous laughter.
And did you go shopping for a ring after that? How did?
Yeah, we were super
Yeah.
daffy about it. We were like, we went to Nordstrom's. We were like, we'll take that. You know, like,
Yeah,
totally
it was
not
fair. It was like,
precious.
that's a ring.
And
Try
how-
that. We liked it. Didn't occur to me, and then we got so
We didn't know anything about
so much
rings.
shade about the ring. And I was like, I guess we should have gotten a better ring.
Yeah, we didn't take time. We didn't know. We
But
just
the
did
ring
it.
happened, and then how soon after was
Okay,
the
so the
wedding?
ring happened, and we got married maybe a year later, We got married August 3rd, 1999, a family-only ceremony at the cabin in Maine on the lake.
Aw.
With a justice of the peace and sort of a Quaker-style ceremony. And that one of my oldest friends made the dress. And then we had a couple parties.
The cottage on the lake is in Maggie's family for, at that point, 40-something years or something.
Yeah, since we were little.
So it's a deeply meaningful spot.
Well, how beautiful, too.
It's extremely beautiful,
Yeah.
but it's not something we rented out because it was beautiful.
Right.
The family was there because it was beautiful.
Yeah, we just were like in the cabin with our brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, no shoes, by the lake, beautiful dress my friend made. My father kind of walked me down the aisle, and my sister here and his brother there, best man, maid of honor. And then we had a party at Barge Music in Brooklyn with friends from New York, and then we had a party in LA with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to celebrate.
People wanted to celebrate with us, but the wedding only was 18 people.
No honeymoon. We got married, and I went to Philadelphia to help my mother. Eventually, we took a Costco vacation.
Oh, that's
to
right. I forgot. Hawaii, right?
when once.
Wait, you literally bought it through Costco?
Yeah, we bought it through
That's a thing.
Costco. We saw it in a magazine and we bought it.
It was great.
Kauai.
It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Kauai. It was beautiful. That was sort of our
That was like
honeymoon,
more of a honeymoon.
a bit.
Oh, wow.
We got married. We got on with life. Back to LA. We're not romantic.
That's not true.
Well, I heard nothing but romance since we've all been in this
Oh,
room here
good.
together.
I guess it doesn't. I don't
It
know.
all adds up to romance. It does.
I suppose so. It doesn't look quite like a rom-com or anything, but I think our life together is romantic because every time she walks in a room, I get excited. Still. I mean, this is after 30-something years. It's like a little thrill inside me.
little
It's like
flutter.
she's here. She's here.
That's so beautiful.
Well, but your story about how you're on stage with her and she's reciting Shaw, but you're just so gobsmacked by how she's, and
Just the way
it's
they're-
all of a sudden, I mean, that just takes over. That's,
Yeah.
you kind of, all the thoughts and words go out of your head, and now you're just consumed with whatever this beautiful, passionate entity is. You know, and like you said, you couldn't get her out of your mind, right? And even when Belina said, "Yeah, just let it go, maybe let it go," you're like, okay, but I'm not going to, and I can't. And 30 years later,
I was consigned to my fate. I understood that.
But I remember when we were rehearsing in Hartford and it was Christmas break, right? Everyone was going away for the holidays. Michael was catching a plane or a bus or something, so he was leaving a little early. And I remember watching him walk out of the rehearsal room. It was snowy, so he had these boots on and jeans or whatever. And I remember him walk out and just, my heart sank when he left. And I was just so sad that he wasn't there. And I remember after that play was done, Mark Lamos offered me Ghosts to stay on and do a play.
That's right.
And the idea of being there without him, you know, I was like, I was so emotional about it. I was like, there's just not 1 minute that I could spend here without him here.
oh,
I couldn't do it.
I am getting misty-eyed because this is so beautiful.
And it's a little sad when I think about acting. I don't miss acting as much as I miss that part of our lives together.
Yeah.
Like it was something that was so profound between the two of us.
Right.
But like I do look back on acting as like a spiritual experience that I had. And I'm very grateful for it.
Great.
Well, I think about our own children, you know, what advice I would have for them. In my experience, I feel like an extremely lucky person because I really did marry my best friend. That's the simple headline of this whole interview. We were tight, deep, close, friends before we were anything else. It eventually turned into what it turned into. And I don't even like to say it out loud because I don't think it's very likely that it's an easy situation for people to get into, particularly with the internet and everything. What I would wish for young people is that they be forced together physically to do and make things. That's how you can do and make an incredible relationship that has legs, that lasts, as opposed to swipe left or whatever it is now, where it's all, you're talking to a cold object with a mirror in front of it.
But I would add to that, getting up on stage and doing a play takes balls. It just does. There's a lot of courage involved and mutual dependence of the other people on stage. So it's like that creates intimacy. And I think when that works, part of it is that some people are steely in ways that other people aren't. So they can pick up for each other. I think that is something that works between the two of us. Our nervous systems are just organized very differently. The things that I'm really afraid of don't bother him. Things that really upset him they don't faze me. You can find that out doing something like a play. These little problem-solving things that feel high risk because you're in an audience player situation can really be a crucible, I think, for relationships. It was a real template for why we were going to...
We also are, I will immodestly say, good conversationalists. We can talk hours together.
Blah, blah,
with
blah.
no one else in the room. But it's true. It's like we can talk alone together in a room or in a car or on the top of a mountain forever.
That really sweet couple that you had on, they were talking about Disneyland.
Mark and Roberta.
Yeah, exactly. I was listening to them. They were saying, well, we plan, right? We do this once a week. We do that once a month. We do this once a year, right? So they have a vision. They create vision together, is what I heard. Mm-hmm. But they also go to Disneyland because they go to enjoy themselves and have fun. I think that's a different way of saying what we're saying, which is that, I mean, that is a kind of a conversation.
Yes, it's just an amusement.
It's a curiosity. It's an openness to doing stuff. You know, it's being a part of the world, and
it's something special too when you have someone who you're just laying there in bed at night and you start talking. And you find yourself like when you were young and you used to have a sleepover with your best friend and you can't go to sleep because you can't stop talking.
Right.
And you find yourself keeping each other awake just talking.
We have that for sure.
Yeah.
We definitely have that. In fact, that's a very big component of our relationship.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is a great time to break out it's the gift bag portion of the program. Where we present you with a giant red Toysher bag.
Oh my God.
It's what I call a romantic weekend in a bag. And so there's all kinds of presents in there for you.
Can we go in and look?
Yes, it's time to dig in. We're going to...
The original chocolate Cafe Felix.
So that is our cracked chocolate cocoa, and you have never had cocoa like
It's
this
the
before.
best sipping chocolate you've ever had.
Is it complicated to make?
Not at all, Mark.
And the
Even
simple
you can do it.
Do you have
directions are
to
on the
heat
back.
milk up?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
my God.
I love that. I want to bring that into our
It's
lives.
easy to screw that up,
Because our children love Coke.
So Toysher actually has their own in-house made jams in the factory in Zurich, made with Swiss and European fruit. And this is my favorite flavor.
Oh,
apricot.
so fancy.
It's so fancy.
It's fantastic.
With some of that beautiful,
Yeah.
like
Delicious.
goat cheese or something, right?
Oh yeah, it's lovely. Tommy makes an apple
my
galette
God.
with that. That is
An apple
out of this
galette?
I
world.
do.
Yeah.
Apple galette.
Yes.
Oh, these are so fancy.
Yeah, that's what we're famous for in our chocolate shop.
Oh, the truffle, champagne truffles.
These are the Toysher champagne truffles made exclusively with Dom Perignon.
Really?
What?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a
that's right.
recipe our factory's been making for 75
77
years,
years
77
How do
years.
they get the...
It's what we're famous for.
Wait a minute,
It's
so if I
gorgeous.
bite into one of those things, is it liquid
It's
inside?
not liquidy. It's a ganache.
With Dom Perignon.
Garland fragrance.
So this is a fragrance that was gifted to you. It's from
Vincenzo Spinato.
Vincenzo Spinato's fragrance. It's a tribute to Judy Garland.
I see this
And
on
the
back.
fragrance is actually made from the Judy Garland rose.
Wow. Can I smell it?
Absolutely.
tacky?
Yeah,
For
it's
you.
lovely. I'm wearing some
I
now.
love fragrance. Oh my God!
Very
Look how
kind.
fancy
Really?
this is. Oh wow!
Whoa.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh my, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Okay.
Thank
There's
gorgeous.
more, Mags. There's
okay,
more.
sorry.
My favorite thing. You
the big
messed
one,
up.
the tin.
Crackling
Oh my
fire
God! With
candle.
a wooden wick.
Yes. It sounds like a crackling fire.
Yeah.
This is. Oh, I
Yeah.
heard that on the other.
They're
I
fantastic.
love-
That
She
is
loves
that is the
this.
last of the
love-
crackling fire
But that's
candles
not
for this
my
season.
favorite thing.
This
You're
one?
really hitting a lot of
Yes.
This is cream.
That's the love and chocolate body butter that I made.
Tara's Mrs. Truffle's body butter.
Chicka wah wah.
That's
You have no idea. Sensing cream.
Yes. What is a romantic weekend without a fancy bottle of French champagne?
This
That's
is
right.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
You guys, this is crazy. This is as
Really,
romantic a
you
bag
guys-
as we've ever had.
You guys should really save this for people who have
Don't
romantic
touch it.
stories to tell.
This is like I'll tell you, I can tell you right now, it's a foreign television show with subtitles.
Uh-huh.
Michael snoring 1st, and then me falling asleep. Although lately, with your glasses slipped down your nose, and me watching shows where people are like, ah, yeah. Ah, yeah.
shows.
It's a one-lane bridge.
okay. Well, this has been more fun than you can shake a stick at, Ms. Truffles. Look, you're grinning ear to ear. You're having so much fun, aren't
Oh,
you?
I'm having so much
No,
fun, Mr.
you guys,
Truffles. As much as you like to joke that it's not a romantic love story, that was a very romantic
It's
story.
beautiful.
It
No,
Was
it
it?
is. Yeah. Are
Very
you kidding me? There's so many beautiful kernels in there that show both of your hearts.
It's actually a really sweet opportunity you're giving people
It is.
to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it is nice. People have been married for 20, 30 years. There's a lot of stuff things laying around.
Just
but when you
tons.
kind of polish it down to like the very like real story, it's always very romantic.
It's a good point.
And it's a great thing, I think, to hear it played back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you hear it back, and it's just like, you know,
Yeah, and
just
we
come
know,
back to what
we know
really
all
matters.
of that detritus. We know what it is, you know, and it doesn't change anything, really.
Well, guys, like the words of George Bernard Shaw, your love is both epic and incredible. And we'll be right back with more For Love and Chocolate with Mr. and Mrs. Truffles.
We'll be right back.
This podcast is being brought to you by Beverly Hills Toysher Chocolates of Switzerland. Beverly Hills Toysher at 371 North Camden Drive in Beverly Hills has been serving up truffles, pralines, dipped fruits, marzipans, and our world-famous chocolate bars for over 40 years. So, next time you're in Beverly Hills, why don't you come by and visit or shop online at BeverlyHillsToysher.com. Oh, wow. I mean, I love those two so much.
That was so much fun.
It was, and you know what? What's so surprising, a little bit surprising for me, is because they're both so brilliant and they're so funny. But there's a lot of love and romance there.
Oh, they are deeply in love.
They really are. I mean,
Yeah.
I love how every time, even today, 25 years later, every time Maggie walks into a room, Michael's heart just skips a beat.
It's so sweet.
It's so sweet. You know, just like when you walk into a room, sweetheart.
Aw, thank you, Mr. Truffles.
Anyway.
We are so happy they joined us.
And we're so happy you joined us. And guess what, guys? We're going to do it again next week. But until then, say goodbye, Mrs. Truffles.
Goodbye, Mrs. Truffles.
This show is brought to you by Beverly Hills Toysher Chocolates of Switzerland, home of the world's first and finest champagne truffles. Join us next week for more adventures in everlasting love.